What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. And today we are joined by the 19th castaway eliminated from Survivor Australia, Titans versus Rebels, and the sixth member of the jury. Kitty, how are we doing today?
I'm so good. I mean, it feels, like obviously I haven't just been voted off.
There's a time period.
There's a bit of a time. I'm not as skinny anymore, but it feels surreal just watching it again and remembering it. And it was just such a crazy experience in so many ways.
Well, it's one thing to be out on the island and actually live that experience. Like, it's the experience of a lifetime. But as you said, you've had some time to reflect, and it's a whole different experience when you watch it back. So how was it yesterday watching the episode play out after knowing what was, preparing yourself for what was coming?
It just is, it's always just strange. Like every episode that I watch myself, I'm like, oh, did I say that? Oh, do I sound like that? I just sound like this bogan Australian. And just watching it back, sitting there going, oh God, you're going to get voted off now, But then thinking, oh, I was just so happy because I was so hungry. I was so hungry.
Yeah. No, I love that quote. It was like the quote at the very end when you said, all right, when do we get food, or where's the food? I absolutely love that. You were, okay, be honest with me. When you got voted out, because obviously it was a shock at that tribal council last night, because I imagine you went in, you said it yourself, it was a blindside. So you had no indication, right, that you were going home.
No, I should have known. Like thinking back, you're like, well, it's quite obvious now, Kitty, but yeah, I didn't know. But when you can see me, I just start smiling as my name comes up. Most people are like really happy and sad. I was like, I think by that stage I was just so effed, and I was so tired, and I was hungry, and I was missing Craig. I was like, I just didn't care. I was just like, look, you made it. Like I said, I went into it not having no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any strategy. I just had a good time and a good experience, and I just was like happy to have been on the show.
Okay, so I haven't seen the Jury Villa episode yet. That has dropped. But what was the first thing you ate? This is just like a fun question at this point, but I have to ask because you were so excited to eat. What was the first thing?
I can't even remember because I think we went back to the room. So it was just like chips and chocolates, and like I ate so much chocolate. It was just, you couldn't stop eating. It was so funny too. In the Jury Villa, they played this trick on me. They said that everyone who'd come in before had to try and eat as many Skittles as they could in one go and drink beer out of a shoe. And I fully believed them. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then eventually I was like, okay, would you guys just shut up? So I managed to get 52 Skittles in my mouth, chew them, and then swallow them, like swallow it all. And then at the end, they're like, oh, no one actually did that, Kitty.
Kitty, so, I have to say this. For someone who is, we kept hearing it throughout the competition. Kitty can't lie. You yourself did not enjoy lying. For someone who, is not a great liar, you made it very far in this game. So I had to ask, from what we saw with the edit, are you as bad of a liar as they portrayed it to be? Because I myself am someone who cannot lie. And was that the most difficult part of the game?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a real people pleaser too. Like that's just something I struggle with. So I don't like it when people don't like me, or in the past, it's something I've worked on. But yeah, it was really hard. It was really hard.
I can imagine. And someone that you didn't really have to lie to throughout the experience was Kitty. We saw, and I've been saying it in these exit interviews, that this season there's been a lot of duos. Ferris and Kirby. You can have a frenemy thing going on. Ferris has had a lot of duos, but one of the most dominant duos that I think we've seen this season is your relationship with Caroline. And I'm going to get more into the middle-aged mafia here in a minute, but I am interested to hear how that relationship came to be, and we'll get more into that. But how did that relationship come to be out on the island?
So we just sort of connected the first night that we were in there, and then the other person which they didn't show that I had a really close was Eden, and they showed me crying obviously when he left. So I would have thought people would have been like, oh, why is she crying? You can't even see that she had that, but him and I and Caroline and I were both really close.
Oh, see, that's something I was wondering about because we had this. It was like the first alliance in the game, the middle-aged mafia, and it kind of it broke off a little bit. Obviously, there was a lot of drama going on with people targeting Mark, and then you and Caroline. But I was interested about where Eden fit in with that group because from what we saw, it looked like a really tight group between you, Caroline, Mark, and Eden. So was that super tight, or was it more just you, Caroline, and Eden?
It was me and Eden.
Okay.
And me and Caroline. And then I brought them together. They were together anyway. And then we had Mark, but it was more myself, Caroline, and Eden were aligned. And then Mark was with the V's.
Oh, okay. So that's making the vote out of Viola make a lot more sense now. Cause that was one of my questions is what led to Viola's elimination? Cause after tribe swap there, you guys had the numbers. It looked like, you guys could have stayed tight and strong. And we saw you guys made the decision to vote off Viola. So that was all part of a plan to kind of weaken Mark in a sense. So he worked with you more. Am I right with that assumption?
Yeah, well, we could feel like, and it's interesting when you watch it back, him and V were already talking about voting off me or Caroline, or more Caroline, I think. And so they already had been thinking about it. We just got there first.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was a great move. And watching it back, I was like, that's a move that you want for a resume. And that's something that we kept hearing throughout these last couple episodes is resume builders. And I'm interested, Kitty, because I know a lot of people probably compared your game with Caroline. So if you were to make it to the finale with Caroline, and that's a whole nother question in itself. Were you destined to go to the end with Caroline? Were you ever going to make a move against her?
I would have stayed with her to the end. And, I even thought about this if I actually got to the end, because I didn't think that I would. But I would have actually just got up there and said, do you know what? I actually don't deserve to win the title.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I was about to say you're too hard on yourself.
No, I would have just said, look, I didn't wasn't the instigator of any moves. I was just good, had a good social game.
Well, that's the thing in itself is your social game was impeccable because I feel like throughout the season, people kept coming to you and saying, we got to get Kitty to work with us.
Yeah. And but I'm so honest, and it was so interesting. Like when we get you're into the villa, people, I think, just want you to get up there and not bullshit them. Like they don't want to hear that you've done this or that or this and you didn't actually do it. So, I would have just got up there and told the truth and said, I have no bloody idea how to play this game. I just came in, I formed 2 really strong alliances with people that I knew were good strategists. And then I just played a good social game. Well, I actually didn't instigate any moves. Like I didn't instigate any. That's the truth.
Well, and that's interesting because I think that's why so many people were like really desperate to get you to work with them because they might have saw you as like, look, if we can get Kitty to work with us, she's loyal. You definitely showed that throughout the entire game about how loyal you are. And I thought one of the most interesting relationships that I saw play out in this game was the one between you and Kirby. I feel like a lot of times Kirby kept coming to you and saying, hey, how about you work with me instead of Caroline? Was there ever a moment that you actually got really close to working with Kirby for like a long-term game?
Yeah, and then I just flipped on her when it came to voting out Ree because she kept saying to me, Kitty, it's just a game. It's just a game. You can lie. Like it's just a game. You don't have to worry about it. It's like, all right, well, and on reflection, like maybe I should have stayed with her and Ree, but then you just like it's, and the thing is we're still friends now, all of us. Like I'm good friends with Kirby and Ree and they came to my wedding and, they're 2 such awesome people. And that's what I loved about them too, is that, I feel there was some people in it that were like, really took it so personally, and I'm like, it's just a game. It's a game.
That was the funny thing is you kept saying it's a game. And then the roles were reversed when you voted Ree out. Cause it was almost like you finally lied. You finally made a move.
And it was so hard. It was so bad. I was like, oh, I don't want to vote Ree out. And then I got voted out next. And then her and I were in the jury villa together in the same room. It was the best. Yeah. And she's doing a coaching program now. She's awesome. So it was like so hard to vote her out. I felt horrible, like sick when I had to do it.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. That's something us fans like looking, we want to go out there, we want to play. Those are the moments that we look at and we don't even think about how hard it is lying to someone. There there was so many quotes this season from people saying you don't understand, and people I've interviewed say you don't understand how difficult it is when you go out there and you form these bonds and you truly just can't trust anyone. Like, I don't know how you felt, if you fully trust Caroline or not, but that's like the whole thing.
There was only two people that I fully trusted, was Eden and Caroline.
Oh my gosh. It's like you're like sleeping with the enemies almost.
And Ree and Kirby, but I knew that in the end they would have to probably cut me, like if it came down to it, and they would stick with each other, which is understandable but I knew that Eden and Caroline would stick with me to the end.
So obviously the Eden vote off had to change your game in a way. So once that happened, you already explained how difficult it was for you to watch him get voted out of the game. How did your game change? At that point, was it just, I'm going with Caroline and I'm going to, vote? Yeah. So how did it change?
Oh my God, I need to get my shit together and start thinking a bit more, because I can't rely on Eden anymore to teach me all about the strategy. And then I started, because obviously I nearly got voted out, by Mark, but got saved by Scotty. And then I was like, shit, I need to go on the offensive. So I got Alex in, and then we managed to get the hotness off me, or the spotlight off me, and then onto Mark. And we got rid of Win. I was like, oh, okay, I'm safe for a bit. I could breathe, But I think I don't know, just still did the same thing. Just who can I be friends with? Who can I trust and work with? And yeah.
Well, I've also been waiting to ask you this all day, because there's two part of the games. We've talked a lot about the social aspects and the connections you made and the allies you had out there on the island, but there's also a physical part to this. And one thing that I love about Survivor Australia is they have the toughest challenges out of any version of the show. They look like torture devices in a sense. And we kept hearing you talk to Kirby about how you're very good at endurance. And if it came down to endurance, there was no one out on the island who could outduel you in an endurance challenge. Excuse me. So
did I say that? Because I'm like, Rihanna could definitely.
Yeah, well, this was after Ree. Yeah, this
after Ree. Yeah.
Ree had been voted out. So that was the conversation we saw between you and Kirby, where you're like, kind of a playful back and forth. If it comes down to it, no one can beat me at an endurance challenge. And obviously Kirby was kind of having fun back. But I'm interested to know, with someone, I think you are in impeccable shape. And going out to the island, how difficult were those challenges once it came down to it? Some of them were endurance based, some of them were strength. How difficult were the challenges to you?
They were hard. They were really hard. Yeah. Well, I was out there going, oh, this is so easy. After we merged in the individual mini, I just backed it off. I didn't try in a lot of them, because I was like, oh, I don't want to be seen as this
challenge threat. Yeah.
Right, because look what happened to Rihanna and Alex. They both got voted off before me, and then I was the next one after them. So I just some of them, like the one with Eileen when she was going to win, I was like, oh shit, we can't, because we're going to vote her off that night. So I really focused and managed to win, which was awesome. And a lot of them, that one where you had to, it's like a leg extension and you had to hold out didn't even
winner one.
Didn't try and I still think though Alex and Rihanna would have beaten me even if I'd tried my absolute hardest, because they were Ree was just ridiculous.
I can't remember if you actually said this, but one thing I loved about it, might have been that challenge, is at one point you're just sitting there and you're like, I think I'm done. I think I'm just done doing this. I could obviously people are probably sitting there and are reacting like, Kitty, why are you just, dropping it like that? But I can't even imagine the pain that these challenges cause. I was actually going to ask, what was the hardest challenge out there that you can remember?
That one on the pyramids was pretty hard. Where we were holding the ropes in the sun.
Yes.
For yeah. I can't believe I lasted that long on that, to be honest.
And the heat. No one ever talks about the heat and how hot it's got to be out there.
It's you're just dripping in sweat. It was burning your feet. And also too, that challenge, not saying that it was hard for everyone, but the shorter and the smaller you were, the better, you were leveraged better for it. So yeah, it was tough. That was look, they were all hard. I think they were all hard.
Well, and I did notice, and this is like a little Survivor nerd coming out in me, but I noticed on the challenge, the immunity challenge, that you did beat Eileen. It was all about stacking those little pegs, and you were stacking them Tell us about this strategy, because I thought it was a mistake, but you had them like angled. So you
Yeah.
had them straight up and then one
Angled.
kind of turned to the side.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I don't know if she's getting those on straight. And then I think there was already 3 of them. And I'm like, wait a minute, she's placing these all the same. This has to be strategy. Was that strategy? And what was the plan to put them at an angle like that? Like I said, this is just the Survivor nerd coming out.
Initially, I tried doing them straight and I just felt they weren't as stable. And so I thought, oh, if I just turn them slightly, so I don't know why I thought that would be more stable, and they just felt more stable. Whether or not they were more stable, I don't know. And then I just really went slow, because I was like, the slower, just go slow. So, I mean,
you won immunity, and I was terrified when you were walking back. The way I was watching that, I'm like, oh my gosh, Kitty, please don't drop. That was an exciting moment. See, this is what I need. We got an immunity challenge win. And we talked about your strategy. You started coming on this podcast and you're like, look, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm starting to think you actually had a really good game out there. You had a great social game. You won an immunity challenge. So I'm interested to hear, after going out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't like you were not a Survivor fan before going out there, right? You didn't know much about the game.
I'm not sure if I should even say this, but I'd never even watched it.
Hey, see, and that's impressive. That is impressive that you went out, did what you did, finished where you did. That is really impressive, Kitty. What are you taking away from this game as a whole? This is Survivor, something you leave with memories that's going to last a lifetime. You leave with friendships that are going to last a lifetime. So what are you personally taking away from this entire experience?
Well, I wrote this post actually on Instagram, and I feel, like for me, it wasn't about the money. Like, I just thought that it would be an amazing experience. And when I actually came back, like, a lot of things sort of imploded in my personal and one of our businesses. And me going away was the catalyst for that. So I truly believe, and everything's really good now. Things have like improved out of sight, and the changes wouldn't have happened unless I went away. So I feel so grateful, and I feel that was the reason that I went on Survivor, because it allowed me to go away and really reflect and think about like my life and how I was living my life and some things that were happening. And I was like, I'm not living in alignment. And I got back and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then I was like, okay, shit just started to change in so many areas, and it's been hard, but amazing now. And I'm so glad. And I just think that wouldn't have happened if I didn't get selected.
It's an experience that in many different ways can change stuff for a lot of people. And that's what I tell people all the time. Survivor is much more than just the cash prize at the end. There's so much you can take away. The final 2 questions before I let you go here. And one is we always ask, and that is, would you play again if they did hit you up again and say, hey, come out here, give it another shot? And then the second part is a really fun one. Who is that little dog back there? I'm just curious. The little puppy on the couch.
That's Henry, my sausage dog. Henry, the sausage dog. So initially I was like, hell no, I'll never do it again. But now that I've come to the end, I'm like, you know what? I probably would go on again. I'm like, because I'm like, oh, this time I'd know a bit more and I'd have a better crack, and yeah, that's Henry, the sausage dog. That was the other question, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Henry has been a guest the entire time and has been the best boy back there. That's why I had to ask. I'm like, he's been so well behaved. Kitty, thank you so much for joining us. And I think I can speak for a lot of people and say, we would love to see you back on the island. Appreciate you joining us today.
And can I just say, I just love you. I think your energy is so good. I love how much you just love it. You love the game.